Okay. Generally speaking, I don't make videos on preparedness. And the reason why I don't make videos on preparedness, generally speaking, is because well, number one, I'm prepared. But number two, I don't like participating in mass paranoia. Okay, I don't like lending my voice to the multitude of voices that are participating in agitating the public and upsetting the public about things that may or may not happen. Okay, I encourage everyone to be prepared, and there are plenty of resources in the description that I will get to explaining what they are and why they're there as the video goes on. So, what's going on in Canada is disturbing. Okay, it is very disturbing. And this is the thing. Okay, I do not think that the United States government will implement the type of ridiculousness that we see in Canada at the moment. Okay, I just don't see it happening. I think we came closest to dictatorship under the administrations of Barack Hussein Obama and Donald Trump. I do not think Biden is somebody that sees himself as a totalitarian, whereas I do believe that Donald Trump and Barack Hussein Obama, I think they both saw themselves as totalitarians, or totalitarians that were people that wanted to be totalitarians, I should say, people that wanted to be dictators, that did not respect the balance of powers in this country. I see Biden as somebody with a great respect for the structure of this government, the way the government is, the balance of powers and things of that nature. Now, how would I recommend being prepared in case things do go bad? Because what worries me? What worries me with the Canadian situation, okay, there's a couple things. Number one, while everyone's paying attention to the situation in Canada, nobody's paying attention to the situation in the Ukraine and Russia. Okay? Now, there are rumors, and I want to make sure people understand these are rumors. I know nothing for a fact. Okay? But there are rumors that there are Chinese soldiers in Canada and that Justin Trudeau has used Canadian resources to train communist Chinese soldiers. Okay? So, could Canada now be a secret ally of the People's Republic of China? Could China move on the United States from Canada? If we make a move on Russia, which we're not going to make a move on Russia, but what would the circumstances be? What would they look like? I'm not too concerned about such things, as I do believe they are just rumors, and even if they are not, I do believe an invading force of communist Chinese soldiers would be pretty easily destroyed by U.S. forces. Okay, as we can see in India, the Chinese are not having an easy time with the Chinese military. I mean, with the Chinese military is not having an easy time with the Indian military in India. Okay, so I don't think they'd have a very easy time with the United States forces, where people like to go, well, the Chinese have so many people and yada yada yada, and they have such a big army. What people forget is the Chinese military is not battle tested. Okay, you have militaries such as, for example, the Indian military that serves, I believe, alongside us in Afghanistan. They served with us. But you have militaries like the United States military. We're in a war every week. I mean, like, seriously, well, a military action every week. You know what I mean? Whether it's hunting down Al-Qaeda in Africa or, infiltrating some South American dictatorship or toppling this, going after Gaddafi or going after Saddam Hussein or what. I mean, for better or worse, and I think it's for worse more than anything, the U.S. military is battle-hardened and battle-tested, and we know that what we do works. The Chinese military, not so much, and it's just the way things are. They're just not that skilled at combat, as say, the United States forces, the British forces, or even, like, for example, the Mexican forces. For example, if Canada were to attack the United States, like if we were to find out that Canada is now on the side of the communist Chinese and they were to attack the United States, I would assume that if somebody was coming from, say, like the Pacific, the Mexican military would help us because of NORAD. I don't think we've lost Mexico. And the Mexican military is, again, very battle-tested. They're always going after drug cartels and drug lords and blah, blah, blah. I mean, they are just a very battle-hardened military. Many of them are trained by the United States. Also, Mexico has come to save the United States' asses a bunch of times with natural disasters. So that's enough of that. That's enough of my crazy conspiracy theories that, by the way, I want to let everybody know these are rumors. These are not, I don't know any of this to be fact. This is just what I'm guessing. I'm throwing this out there as possibles, maybe in an alternate universe. I don't really think that it's reality. I'm going after rumors that I see on the internet, but these are rumors that I do think are worth preparing for. Everything is worth preparing for. So, someone in my personal life has been spiraling out of control because of what's going on in Canada. And I keep trying to reassure this person, we're the United States, we're not Canada. If we didn't fall into dictatorship under Donald Trump or Barack Obama, I promise you we're not going to fall into a dictatorship under Joe Biden. It's just not going to happen. It's not something that's going to be in the cards for us. Joe Biden is not that kind of person. He's not a dictatorial person. He's not a totalitarian. Okay, he's a respecter of the Constitution. He respects the Constitution. He respects the limits of government. He respects the system and the way our government is set up with the balance of powers. We know that, well, I know this. So we're not going to fall into a dictatorship in the United States of America, at least not from our domestic government. So, with all the saber rattling between Russia and the United States, and the communist Chinese in the United States, and the communist Chinese and our Asian allies, what do I think American citizens should do, U.S. citizens should do? Well, number one, see, this is the thing. I keep forgetting that people don't know stuff. Okay? I'm lucky enough to know a lot of stuff. Like most people, they don't know how to set a fire without matches. I know several ways to set a fire without matches if I have to cook my food. Most people don't know how to catch and dress small game. Now, me being a vegan, it would not be the most pleasant experience of my life to do that, but I know how to do that. I know how to catch a fish and clean a fish and cook a fish. I know if worse comes to worse, I know how to get a squirrel, clean a squirrel, and cook a squirrel, and eat a squirrel. I know these things, regardless of whether this is going to be a pleasant situation for me or not. It probably wouldn't be because I'm a vegan for ethical reasons, but I know how to do these things. And I learned these things many years ago, and I have the resources, and I can still start a fire without matches quite easily, depending on what means I choose. I would recommend that everybody has a fire-starting lens, which is, or a magnifying glass, and learns how to use it. Adults, and only responsibly to start like a campfire. I just want to throw that out there. Don't use it for any weird purposes. But my point is I know these things. I believe the lens method is the easiest method, followed by the flint method, and then, of course, friction, which is a bitch. But my point is, there are many ways to start fires. People should be familiar with these. Well, how do you get familiar with these? One of the ways that I would recommend people get familiar with survival skills is, and there's resources, look up the merit badge requirements for the Boy Scouts of America. The first aid requirements, the different swimming merit badge, the camping merit badge, backpacking merit badge, etc., etc., etc. Why do I say this? Well, because the Boy Scout merit badge guides are clear, concise, and easy enough to understand that a child can understand them. And many people, well, I should rephrase that. Many people I don't think have the comprehension of the average Boy Scout these days. But they're more easy and more readily understood than other resources on these materials. And a lot of them are free. You can download them. Okay? Now, I own hard copies of these manuals for good reason. You also have to take, and I would recommend other people have hard copies of these resources for good reason, and that's if there is a blackout or some kind of attack on the energy sector or something of that nature, you need a hard copy of these materials. You should have committed a lot of these things to memory, and you need these things. Another thing that people need to touch up on, and honestly I've been saying this for a while, and that's you need to learn martial arts. Every United States citizen needs to be proficient. If you have a halfway competent body, you need to be proficient in some form of martial art. Now, I would recommend people purchase the resources of the United States Army and the United States Marine Corps, and that's just so you can understand these basic techniques quickly. But I really do strongly recommend that anybody that can afford to sign up to a martial arts program, and I don't care what system of martial arts. I don't care if it's boxing. I don't care if it's karate. I don't care if it's judo. I don't care if it's Muay Thai. I don't care what it is. Learn something. And then add to that with the Marine Corps and Army training, what's in the manuals for that. But the thing is, obviously, I would highly recommend people learn karate. But please understand, because karate is the techniques in the Marine Corps and Army fighting methods. But you need to start somewhere. You need to learn how to fight to protect yourself. Okay? That's another important thing. So you need to learn things like how to start a fire, how to catch and clean game and fish, how to cook food. This is the other thing. Regardless of catching and cleaning game and fish, most people don't even know how to cook oatmeal or soup or anything like that. So you might want to learn how to cook. You might want to buy a basic cooking book. Again, the Boy Scouts, there's a merit badge for cooking. A badge that will, a course guide that will take you, or a guide to the merit badge that will take you through everything you need to know about cooking. And so many Americans need to learn how to cook. Now, beyond that, people need to think, what are you going to do if civilization, or a portion of civilization, a portion of the United States Republic that you're in, is taken back to zero? What if you're taken back to the Stone Age? Now, I'm not saying this is going to happen. I don't think it will. But what you need to consider is, what are you going to do? Okay? Are you going to be able to rebuild your civilization? Do you understand how a structure of government works? Do you understand the strengths and weaknesses of our society? Do you understand propaganda, how to resist propaganda? Okay, such as psychological warfare, things like that. Do you understand these things? Do you understand how things are used to bend the will of people? Do you understand how to build a basic structure? Do you understand how to build a patio? How to build a wall, a stone wall, a brick wall, a cinder block wall? Do you understand how to do basic plumbing? Do you understand how to maintain an automobile or farm equipment? Do you understand how to grow food? Again, Boy Scout merit badge, automobile management, and agricultural merit badge. There you go. Two guides there that you should have. But the other thing is, you might want to get the collection of Civil Defense Corps manuals. I have Civil Defense Corps manuals, and I will leave a link in the description of where to get those materials. The Civil Defense Corps, I believe, has been dissolved. I don't think it exists anymore, but that was back when the United States government was preparing us for the Cold War, and you would be, the everyday citizens would be prepared for the ability to, survive in case of a nuclear attack. Do you know what to do in a nuclear attack? Now, this is where you might want to get survival manuals from the United States Army and the Civil Defense Corps and the U.S. Marine Corps. Okay? You might need to know these things just in case. We don't know where this will go, but I don't want to lend to the paranoia. I don't think it's going anywhere. I really don't. I don't think it's going to be that bad. But because this friend of mine in my personal life was getting so agitated, how much food do you have? And this is the thing, when you do rebuild society, do you know how to rebuild society? Do you know what foodstuffs are the best to grow? Do you know how to create a society that can run on, say, potatoes, pulses, whole grains, and vegetables? That's going to be your best bet. Supplement it with fish and game. So you're going to have to understand, you need to know where to start. Where do we start if we have to start from square one? Okay? And this is why I made a video a bunch of months back, I think it was a year or so back, about getting books to preserve Western civilization. But we also have to understand, not only is it the preservation of Western civilization, what if we need to rebuild Western civilization from the ground up? We have to understand that this knowledge is important not only to know. I don't know if people have ever read the book or saw the movie Fahrenheit 451, where at the end people would commit books to memory, and they would use like an oral tradition to play out the books. They would become the book. You obviously don't have the ability to do that, but what you need to understand is you need to know these basic things, how to build a wall, how to do this, how to do that. And you need these resources, but you need to commit a whole lot to memory, especially survival, especially managing your physiological needs of food, warmth, shelter, clothing, things of that nature. You need to commit things like that to memory. Then you need to expand into things such as basic math, reading, language. These things need to be understood. Then, of course, architecture, building, what have you. These things are all, you need basic skills, and then from those basic skills, you need to expand from those basic skills. You can't trust that everyone knows these things, or that the group of people that you hopefully will get absorbed into to rebuild society, you can't trust that all of them know these things. Okay? You can't trust that these resources will exist elsewhere. You can't trust these things. So you have to do what you can do to prepare yourself to actually rebuild civilization from the ground up. And it sounds crazy, okay? And it probably is a little crazy. And that's why I don't make videos like this. I don't want to agitate people. But the thing is, if you're going to rebuild society, are you going to rebuild it exactly the same way that you did? Because if it fell, there obviously were certain weaknesses in that society. So you want to try and figure out where were the weaknesses and where were the strengths in the current civilization. If you were to rebuild civilization, where would you how would you strengthen how would you harden the target to make it so it wasn't as fragile as what had just collapsed? And I don't think anything is collapsing. I want people to understand that. But you need to be prepared. That's the whole thing. You need to be prepared to preserve your civilization, to preserve your people, to preserve your way of life. Now, what about resources? Well, I'm going to leave links to several survival resources. Most of these companies are actually all of these companies are companies I've purchased things through in the past, whether it's chicken eggs to hatch chickens, or whether it's veterinary supplies for my pets, or whether it's survival equipment, or whether it's books, or regardless of what it is, there are resources in the description for survival equipment. There's also resources to meditative processes. The best meditative process I would recommend is that of Chan Buddhism or Zen Buddhism or even Bhakti Yoga. And there are resources to those in the description. And I want to make sure people understand that, because you need to learn to control your fight or flight response. You need to not allow yourself to be overwhelmed by fear and frozen by fear. And that's where that comes in. That's that Hwarang stuff. Everybody hears me talk about that. Well, the Hwarang knights and the samurai and the Shaolin monks of China, they're right about one thing. You need to learn to control your fear. You need to not freeze. And the best tool that I know of for that is meditation. And that's why there are resources to both Hindu and Zen or Chan Buddhist meditation in the description. And that's all for this video.